very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Notebook Zero Hour Online International Inter-School Debates powered by Stayfree and brought to you in partnership with Save the Children. For the last couple of weeks, since the 17th of July, we have been engaged in some fantastic debating. 64 schools from across the country, various parts of Middle East, Africa, and Nepal have been engaged in some brilliant debating. We have thrown them topics that are perhaps a little above their age level. We have given them complicated arguments to make, and every time they have put their best foot forward, every student, amazing us with the kind of debating that has gone on. Today is the 32nd match. This is a Pool D match and the last match of the pool stage. The other three pools, pools A, B, and C, already have their qualifiers for the quarterfinals, which begin tomorrow. Today, let's see if the two schools participating can take the fight to the two teams leading Pool D right now. So without much ado, let us begin. Well, the two schools competing today are GRD Public School Coimbatore and the Mayo College Girls School Ajmer. As I said, this is a Pool D match and the last match of the pool stage. Just a quick run through the rules. The two teams have sent 3 people each. There are 2 adjudicators, one from each school, and 1 neutral adjudicator. The adjudicators would be scoring the students based on their arguments first and then their rebuttal. Every contestant gets 5 minutes to make the arguments and then another 2 minutes to come back for the rebuttal, where they refute the points put forth by the opposing bench. Today, the neutral adjudicator we have with us is Mr. Burrett. Mr. Burrett retired as the Deputy Headmaster from the illustrious Doon School after 44 years of serving in education across various institutions. One of the roles that he held at the Doon School was the Dean of Activities, in which role he oversaw and adjudicated over thousands of debates. Sir, it is our privilege to have you with us. If you could have some words of encouragement for the 4 contestants before we begin.
Thank you very much, Bayo. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
A very good evening to the contestants, the debaters, the school adjudicators, and also the principals who might be tuned in. Very good evening to Harsha, Kevin, Sanidhi, and Tanushri in particular. I am sitting at the edge of my seat because in all the previous debates I've judged on this contest, I've had to pay very, very careful attention because it's come down to the tape in many, many occasions, and which means the audience poll really makes a big difference. All the best to all of you. Please remember that public speaking is a very important life skill, and you are privileged, as much as I am, to be representing your schools on one of the largest online international formats. And if it wasn't for COVID, I wonder how many of you would have been part of a 64-team competition lasting over a month. So all the very best to you. I can tell you that I'm as excited as you are to judge this debate, and may the best team win. Thank you very much. Over to you, Shubai.
Thank you so much, sir. Abhishek, I am missing one participant. Could you just confirm if Tanushri is joining?
I am trying to get in touch with her. For some reason, her phone is busy. So I'm trying. Why don't you guys start?
Sure. Thank you, sir, so much for joining us today. We are also very privileged to be powered by Stayfree. Stayfree, as you know, is a Johnson & Johnson's brand for women's hygiene that does a phenomenal amount of great work, particularly for young women who are just entering their puberty. Here's a short message from the brand that they wanted us to share with everyone during this lockdown.
मेरे पीरियड शुरू हो गए हैं।
पहली बार हो रहे हैं मुझे, तो काफी अजीब लग रहा है।
पीरियड्स में मुझे आसान काम भी मुश्किल लगता है, बहुत दर्द होता है।
मैं किसी के पास बैठ भी नहीं सकती और जब मैं उठती हूँ बार बार निशान चेक करती हूँ।
घर में एक ही वॉशरूम है तो पैड चेंज करने में मुझे शर्म आती है।
मुझे पैड को कचरे में छुपाना पड़ता है हर बार।
She may not understand what she's going through. She just needs to know you do. Over 2 million girls will get their first period in lockdown. Your daughter or sister could be one of them. Talk to her. Tell her.
It's normal. It's just a period.
Well, after that short and wonderful message from Stayfree, it is time to move on with the debate today. Today's debate is between the GRD Public School Coimbatore and Mayo College Girls School Ajmer. And the topic is this. This house believes the citizens' responsibility to the country is greater than the country's responsibility to its citizens. I repeat, this house believes the citizens' responsibility to the country is greater than the country's responsibility to its citizens. Here are the two teams from the GRD Public School Coimbatore. We have Surya Prakash ma'am, who's joining us as the adjudicator. Harsha is speaking for the motion while Kevin speaks against the motion. From the Mayo Girls School, Mrs. Supreet Bakshi, the Vice Principal, is the adjudicator. Thank you so much for joining us, both the adjudicators. Sanidhi would be speaking for the motion and Tanushree is speaking against the motion. Abhishek, can you please confirm if Tanushree has joined?
Not as yet. I'm in touch with Shubhayu. I'm working on that.
Sure. Well, this will be the order the students would go in. We'll start with Harsha from GRD, followed by Tanushree speaking against the motion. Then Sanidhi speaks for the motion, and finally Kevin goes against the motion. Each student gets 5 minutes of speaking time. They'll be warned at 4 minutes so that they can finish well in time. And then after all 5 speakers have made the arguments, they will get another 2 minutes to come back for the rebuttal. Harsha, while we are waiting for Tanushree to join, we would love to get to know you a little better as you're our first speaker. I'll stop my share so that you can switch on your camera.
Hello. Right.
Shubhayu, Tanushee's joined.
Could you hear
I'm
me?
just trying to make sure that Tanushree, this is
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, that's me.
Perfect. I'm going to rename it. Thank you. I think we are all set, Shubhayu.
Thanks, Abhishek. Thanks a lot. Yeah, Harsha.
Am I
Over to you
audible?
if you would love to. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
So first of all, a very good evening to one and all present here. My name is Harsha. I'm a grade 12 student and I've chosen the science stream. Apart from that, I do have my own interest in social science. My hobbies include mainly playing sports because I'm a throwball player as well as a football player. And this is my first ever international debate and I'm quite excited about it.
Wonderful, Harsha. Looks like your signal is very, very good. So don't worry about the connectivity. So if you're ready to bend it like Beckham, we will start your time for the debate now.
Healthy citizens are the greatest asset a country can have, as said by Winston Churchill. Today, I will be firmly speaking for the notion that a citizen's responsibility towards the country is greater than the country's responsibility towards its citizens. Usually, when you look at the government or the country does its part by creating rights and laws. But often, these rights and laws just become mere words in the Constitution unless these are followed by the citizens. In fact, the people of a country can be called the citizens only when they follow these rules. A country can prosper only when the citizens actively follow these rules. Let us take the example of our own country, which has a population of about 1.38 billion people, that is 17.7% of the world population. It is almost impossible for the government to ensure that each and every individual follows the law. The law drafted by the government earns its value only when the citizens abide by it. The present COVID-19 scenario is in itself one of the greatest examples for this. The government has done its part by creating so many public measures, by imposing lockdowns, by closing down public hotspots and whatnot. But it all comes back to the citizens' hands because it is completely reliable on the citizens to follow these rules. However, it is important for the citizens to do their part towards the country and towards themselves in the situation. As everyone must have noticed that there's a huge economic setback in almost all the COVID affected countries because it is completely because the citizens of the country are affected by it and are not able to do their responsibilities to the country. The country is completely helpless in this situation and completely depends on its citizens to fight the battle against COVID. To make it even more clear, let me give another example, which is the international Korean debt of the Korean government. In the year 1998, the Korean government had owed billions of loans and was highly indebted to the International Monetary Fund. In this situation of a national debt, the Korean citizens stepped in and donated their own money in the form of gold and other precious things and helped solve the national debt. Well, this is definitely a perfect example of citizenship towards the country because the citizens have saved the country from a national debt and a possible economic setback. Well, of course, it is acceptable that the country is responsible to its citizens to some extent, but the citizens' responsibility towards the country is quite greater than that. In fact, it is the citizens' responsibility to choose who will run the country in case of a democracy, which leads to another success story, that is the independence of India from the British rule. The independence movement is a series of incidents initiated by the citizens of India during the years 1857 to 1947, which is 90 years in the making, which makes almost a century. But still, the citizens of India did not lose their hope and persevered till the end until they got to protect their country. Not only the independence movement, but all the protests and struggles initiated by the citizens against any unjust law leads to the government granting rights that eventually leads to the peace of the country. Well, an undivided and peaceful country is only possible when the government and its citizens work in perfect union with each other. Well, I think I have made my point clear by telling that a citizen can save their country from an economic situation as well as a situation where it is conquered. Therefore, I conclude by telling that a citizen's responsibility towards the country is definitely greater than the country's responsibility towards its citizens. Thank you.
Harsha, thank you so much for those wonderful arguments. Let's see how the judges are scoring you. Judges, this is when you turn to the scoring sheets. Harsha's score go into the first column on the left. I can see the scores coming in. So Harsha, just give us a few minutes and we will get your scores across to you. Burrett sir, I have your scores. May I take that as final?
Yes, please, Shibayo. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Surya Prakash ma'am, is that your final score?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Supreet ma'am, may I take that as your final score?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Well, Harsha, if you can see the screen, these are your scores after your initial 5 minutes of arguments on your screen now. Well done. Tanushree, you're up next. We were a little worried if you were able to join.
Can you see me?
Yes, Tanushree, I can see you now.
I'm so sorry for the inconvenience caused.
No worries. We would love to get to know you a little better before we start with your arguments.
Right. So I'm Tanushree Gupta. And I come from the eastern flanks of the country, from the state known as Assam. And I've done various debates before, but I don't think none which have been at an international level. And being from Assam, my political inclination lies to the fact that the NRC which took place in the country was highly inefficient and not required. Yeah.
Well, Tanushree, if you're ready with your arguments, we will start your time now.
Sure. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go back to December 2019 when the Parliament passed the Citizenship Amendment Act. Now, a lot of people broke down into protests because they felt that their right to equality has been infringed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention, because right to equality simply means a particular responsibility which a country has towards its citizens. What did the citizens do, ladies and gentlemen? Protests broke out. And actually, a lot of these protests took a violent turn when they started disrupting public property. What does public property here mean, ladies and gentlemen? Protecting public property is a part of the fundamental duties of each and every citizen. The point I'm trying to prove here, ladies and gentlemen, is until and unless you have the rights given to you by a particular country, your rules stay alive. The day one of your rights have been infringed, all your fundamental duties, they actually disappear. So good evening to the House at large. The topic is very simple: whether a citizen's responsibility towards his or her country is greater, or is the country's responsibility that is greater. And ladies and gentlemen, it is very clear, and I would clear it out throughout the course of my debate, that a country's responsibility is greater. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's first talk about the non-relevance of a citizen's responsibility towards his country in a lot of countries across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, in a place like North Korea, where people cannot actually choose the style of haircut they want, that's also not the liberty given to them. Talking about something like citizens' responsibility towards his country is an alienated concept. Let's talk about communist countries across the world, whether it's China, North Korea, South Sudan. They work on the principle of social welfare. Ladies and gentlemen, what is social welfare? They work on the basis of an egalitarian society, which is functioned by the government. So when things like these happen, ladies and gentlemen, a citizen's responsibility completely stands non-relevant. So first, it's non-relevant in a lot of parts of the world. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the definition which side proposition has taken for citizens is very, very flawed. Because for us as side opposition, even an Afghan girl waiting to be raped by a member of the Taliban organization is a citizen of Afghanistan. A 60-year-old man in the United Kingdom who has no money to himself, abandoned by his family, is also a citizen of the United Kingdom. And a 6-year-old in Pakistan waiting for a better life is also a citizen of Pakistan. What is common among all of these three examples, ladies and gentlemen, is that they don't have the resources to even look after themselves, let alone their responsibility towards their country. When you do not have the resources to look after yourself, you look up to the country to actually fulfill your needs. Only then does your responsibility come into being. Ladies and gentlemen, first the country provides for you, only then can you provide for the country. If you do not have food to eat, a home to live in, ladies and gentlemen, it's utopia to think that you can work for the government. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the third thing being selfishness. Man is an inborn selfish being. He would not work towards anything as long as he does not see his own benefit in it. That's why for every duty that we have, we also have a privilege, a right, which is given to us, right? So while we have a duty to take care of the public property, we also have a right of freedom of equality. While we have a duty to take care of all the public property, we need a right to education. So nothing goes only one hand, right? A country has to first provide for its citizens, only then would the citizens provide for their country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, first speaker came and talked about how she says that one can become a citizen only when they follow the laws. No, ladies and gentlemen, you can become a good citizen when you follow the laws, but there you can become a citizen through naturalization, through living in the country for a specific number of time, and now through the Citizenship Amendment Act. Now, ladies and gentlemen, they talk about how the country at the time of pandemic is helpless and the government has done nothing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what does the first speaker expect the government to do? Does she expect them to actually take an MBBS degree? Because they started with the PM CARES Fund, they started with the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. These are things which have been started by the government to actually aid the people of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, she talks about the citizens and the government together forming a country which is well functioning. But ladies and gentlemen, what if the citizens are not satisfied? They tell us that a citizen's responsibility is greater. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that first work for the Yemenis people, those 24 million people who do not have adequate healthcare, etc. First work for them, then they will work for you. First provide for those 6.5 million people in Syria, only then will they provide for you. First work for South Sudan, only then will they provide for you. First work for the health efficiency of all the people who've been affected in the Democratic Republic of Congo, only then will they work for you. In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all I'm trying to say is that you can fool some of the people all the time, and you can definitely fool all the people some of the time. But you cannot be fooling all the people all of the time. So stop fooling people in places where they're stricken by casualties, telling them that it's their responsibility to first look after themselves. No, ladies and gentlemen, first let the country look after themselves. First let the country act responsible, and the citizen will then definitely act responsibly. Thank you so much. Have faith in humanity and have a great evening ahead. Thank you.
Well done, Tanushree. Take a deep breath. That reminded me of Shankar Mahadevan's Breathless. Let's see how the judges are scoring you. Judges, please remember, Tanushree is the fourth column. I can see the scores coming in. Tanushree, just give us a couple of minutes before we can tabulate the scores and show them to you. Bhattacharyya, may I take that as your final score?
Yes, so Mayo, please.
Thank you so much. Supreet ma'am, may I take that as your final score? Okay. Just let me know whenever you're ready and I'll take that score.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Surya Prakash ma'am, there is just one more score left from you. If you could fill that in, please.
I'm done.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll take that as your final score. Tanushree, if you're looking at your screen, these are your scores after your initial 5 minutes of arguments on the screen now. Very well done. Sanidhi, you're up next. We had two Sanidhis for a little bit on the screen, so we were worried if she has a twin. Let's get to know Sanidhi a little bit better.
Am I audible?
Yes, Sanidhi, I can hear you.
All right. Firstly, a good evening to everyone. My name is Sanidhi. I am from Delhi. I've been studying in Mayo College Girls School for the past 6 years. I'm currently the school captain of the school. My interests lie in a wide variety of things, including computer science, debating, quizzing. I also, from time to time, enjoy a little bit of basketball to refresh my senses. I think the major reason for me being inclined towards politics is because of family reasons. My family is very deeply involved in politics, and the credit for me having so much of knowledge about my surroundings largely goes to them, along with my school, of course.
Wonderful, Sanidhi. If you're ready with your arguments, we will start your 5 minutes on the clock now.
When shall I start?
Sorry, I thought you heard me. If you're ready, we will start the time. Timers, please note, we are starting the time now.
All right. A very good evening to all the audience members, panel members, moderators, and of course my esteemed opposition. The topic in the House states, this House believes citizens' responsibility to a country is greater than the country's responsibility to its citizens. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the past few debates, there have been some confusion regarding the most basic of definitions. So let me clarify for convenience. What does a citizen mean? A citizen is nothing more than you and I, members of an independent state. What are their responsibilities? Responsibilities of these citizens includes tasks that these citizens must undertake to uphold their country's morals and principles, especially the ones that the country has explicitly been standing for a long time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, a very simple meaning, therefore, to the motion that a citizen or an individual's responsibility to his or her country must be greater than the country's responsibility to his or her citizens. Before I move on to my arguments, a few clarifications. Firstly, we're saying greater. We're not saying that a country will never be responsible to its citizens or that it should not be responsible to its citizens. Rather, what we're saying is that a citizen must firstly be responsible towards their country. Secondly, we're also talking about a country and not a government. A simple clarification, but it largely changes the meaning of the motion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, universally speaking, a great emphasis has been laid on citizens' duties. In fact, the Article 29, Part 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, and I quote, "Everyone has duties to the community in which they alone will get free and full development of their personality." Ladies and gentlemen, we see examples spread across the world. One, that of Singapore, whose growth story has been fueled by its emphasis on the relentless pursuit of duties by its citizens. We have the example of the Scandinavian countries, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, whose success stories of development wholly and solely belong to their citizens who have continuously acted responsibly to uphold the country's principles and morals. Ladies and gentlemen, India in itself is one of the few countries in the world with a glorious tradition of democracy since ancient times. The concept of republic in India is older than that, and that might be shocking to most of us, that of Roman and Greek republican systems. In fact, the ancient republicans, or the Janpadas as they were called, for example, the Vaishali or the Mithila or the Kapilavastu, and their constitutions date back to 600 BC. And guess what they talk about, ladies and gentlemen? They talk about an individual's responsibility to their nation, or as they mention it, the Kartavya, the performance of one's duties towards society, his or her country, and their immediate circle, that is to say their parents, which must be emphasized. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might be asking, why is this important? And let me explain it to you by breaking it down by breaking these responsibilities and transforming them to fit every aspect of our lives. Let's talk about social, ladies and gentlemen. What makes a country stable? A country is stable when law and order is followed by that particular country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how are laws created? Laws are created by the representatives of the people who choose responsibly through their voting rights, who responsibly choose their representatives through their voting rights, and they themselves are responsible for making these laws, which are then upheld by these very people. That is indirectly saying we ourselves are responsible for the laws that are created. One more clarification, ladies and gentlemen. We do not talk about a utopic society where everything is to be accepted and then move on. And we definitely do not talk about accepting the wrongs. In fact, one of the most important responsibility of a citizen is to air their dissent, especially in a social environment, against unfair and unjust laws and procedures to make sure that everything that is going on is happening for the greater good of them all. As the previous speaker mentioned, the recognition of the wrongdoings in Yemen, Hungary, Congo, and Syria means that the citizens are taking this responsibly, are talking about this in a responsible manner, which in turn implores governments and implores international organizations to donate and contribute to help resolve the conflicts. Ladies and gentlemen, that is to say that the umbrellas in Hong Kong, the chants of the preamble in India, and the civic uproar in the United States of America are just few examples of this dissent being raised, which is in turn our responsibility. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about the economic aspect. How does the country fund, ladies and gentlemen? How does the country economically develop? Ladies and gentlemen, they do not have a genie or a magic wand aiding them, but rather the taxes that each responsible citizens turn in as a contribution for the greater welfare of the nation. Because, ladies and gentlemen, today's debate is not about political parties or about contrasting ideologies, but rather a call for each one of us to no longer sit and wait for the change to happen, but rather to take the change in our own hands and be the change ourselves. Isn't that what our republic stands for at the end of the day? Moving on to the last part of why it's extremely important. Ladies and gentlemen, politically, when we're speaking, we must realize that the most important part of a country, of a democracy, and of a country at large can be summarized in the words of the father of our nation. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Because every citizen plays a key role in building a new India, a clean, healthy, and prosperous nation where everyone performs their duties, even mechanically, to pave a way for a better neighborhood, a better society, and ultimately a better country. Because the change is in no other hands but then your and ours. Thank you very much. Proud to propose.
Well done, Sanidhi. Some wonderful arguments there. Let's see how the judges are scoring you. Judges, Sanidhi is in the third column. I can see the scores coming in, Sanidhi. We shall have your scores with you just in a couple of minutes. Burrett sir, I have your scores. May I take them as final?
Yes, Dr. Baidu. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Supreet ma'am, I have your scores. May I take them as final?
Just a minute, please.
Sure. Surya Prakash ma'am, may I take your score as final?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Well, Sanidhi, if you can see the screen, these are your scores after your initial 5 minutes of arguments. Well done. It's Kevin's turn next. Kevin, you've heard the three other speakers go before you.
Hi, am I audible?
Yep, I can hear you. I can see you. Let's ensure everybody gets to see you. Yeah. We would love to get to know you a little better.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Kevin. I am a 12th grader and I've chosen the commerce stream. So other than academics, my interests include football and listening to music. And I'm also a beatboxer, which is a rare element in the music industry. I'm proud to say that I'm a beatboxer. And that's all I have to say.
Kevin, before we finish today, we need a performance from you. But for now, we'll settle for your arguments.
Yes,
if you're ready, we will start your time now.
Respected adjudicators, fellow opponents, and my dear viewers. Hope you're having a great evening so far. I, Kevin Kurian Joseph, am here to speak against the notion citizens' responsibility towards their country is greater than the country's responsibility towards their citizens. Let's get started. Everyone seems to care a great deal about the Everyone seems to care a great deal about the duties of a citizen towards his or her country. Yes, a citizen has certain responsibilities that he or she is bound to comply with. That is correct. No arguments there. But what about the country's responsibility towards the citizens? Is it enough if only citizens fulfill their responsibilities? No. It is no doubt the duty of every country to ensure the safety and protection of its citizens. One other major obligation of every country is to control its poverty rate. But I don't think these issues are being taken care of. Let's take our own country, for example. Look around. What do you see? Let me make that simpler. What is India famous for other than its prestigious culture, tradition, and heritage? The answer is big yet simple, ladies and gentlemen. The answer is corruption, poverty, crime rate, poor hygiene, and unsafe environment. Don't believe me? Not a problem. Let's look at the facts. 44.2% of households are at the risk of being mugged or robbed. 41% of the population are at the risk of being attacked. 28% of them are praised to sexual, racial, and religious abuse. 41% of our population has fallen prey to violent crimes, 39% to drug abuse. And to top it all off, 70% of crimes in India occur due to corruption and bribery. Where's the law when you need it? Where is the citizen's responsibility? Why are they unsafe? Where's protection when it matters? This is just the tip of the iceberg. The city with the least crime index is Mangalore, with 25 out of 100 people being victims to criminal injustice. That's right, the least is 25. Most of you may think that the judicial system of India is taking care of these injustice by bringing justice to the conflicted. But I'd like to strongly oppose this point. The courts of India handle only a few number of cases. What happens to the rest of them? Only God knows. As of December 2019, there's a total of 59,867 pending cases in the Supreme Court alone. The tally of pending cases at the district and subordinate level courts stand at a shocking 3.14 crores, according to Union Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad. So a government official is telling you that the country is not being responsible to the injustice happening to its citizens. Is this the responsibility of the country? I don't think so. We see advertisements on the papers, on the TVs, telling us about the groundbreaking developments that our country is achieving and how well the citizens are being treated by the government. But I'd like to tell you that these are just mere cover-ups. Is our country failing to fulfill its responsibilities due to lack of adequate financing? I don't think so. But let's take a look at that too. An average Indian earns 1,25,000 rupees, out of which 35%, which is 48,000, is taken off as income tax. So that would mean the government receives 62,74,455 crores in the form of income tax alone. Plus, it receives an extra 18,03,739 crores on the taxation of various goods. That is almost twice the income of Afghanistan and Sudan combined. Yet, they both seem to be better off in certain aspects when compared to India. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel once said that it is the responsibility of every citizen to feel that his country is free and to its freedom is his duty. Well, how can we defend our country knowing that it won't benefit us in any way? How can we expect our citizens to be responsible towards their motherland when we know that their motherland doesn't treat them well? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my worthy opponents, and my dear viewers, it has been an honor participating and proposing my views in this debate, and I think I've made my point. Thank you.
Well done, Kevin the beatboxer. Let's see how the judges are scoring you. Just a couple of minutes, Kevin, while the scores come in. To all four of you, after this, we will come back to you for the rebuttal. Remember, in the rebuttal, you are taking on the opposition bench, which means the two speakers who have spoken for the motion, that would be Harsha and Sanidhi. You would be taking on whatever Kevin and Tanushree have said, right? I would expect the rebuttal to be a very pointed refutal of points that they would have made. So I hope you guys have taken notes. Just as Kevin's scores come in. Bhattacharyya, have your scores. May I take them as final?
Yes, Shubhayu. Yes, Shubhayu.
Thank you so much, sir. Surya Prakash ma'am, may I take your score as final?
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Supreet ma'am, may I take your scores as final, please?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. Well, Kevin, these are your scores after your initial 5 minutes of arguments on the screen now. Well done. Sorry about that. Yeah. Those are your scores. Right? And this is when we come back for the rebuttal in the same order. Harsha, we will start with you. Let me stop my share. Let me put Harsha's video up. Harsha, you would have to unmute yourself. Yeah. Harsha, if you're ready with your rebuttal, we will start your time now.
My worthy opponent had pointed out that I mentioned that the government did not do anything during the pandemic. Well, I would like to remind her that I did mention that the government had imposed the lockdowns and other measures. What I meant was that the citizens have to follow the rules imparted by the government. My other worthy opponent also had mentioned that the crime rate has gone high and the people are not able to be safe in the country. Well, again, I would like to stress on the point that the responsibility of the country increases only because the citizens have failed to obey the law. Even an illiterate person can understand that murder, thievery, corruption all belongs to crime, and they can completely understand that it goes against the law. To further justify my fact, I would like to mention a quote quoted by Wendell Berry that goes by, "While the government is studying and funding and organizing its big thoughts, nothing is being done. But the citizens willing to think little and accepting the discipline of that to go ahead on his own, already solving the problem, a man who's trying to live as a neighbor to his neighbors will have a lively and practical understanding of the work of peace and brotherhood. And let there be no mistake about it. He is doing that work. A man who is willing to undertake the discipline and the difficulty of mending his own ways is worth more in a moment than 100 who are insisting merely that the government and the industries mend their ways." Well, I think I've proven my point that it completely relies on the citizens to obey what the government has said in order to prevent the crime rate and the other problems caused in our country. Thank you.
Well done, Harsha. Let's see how the judges scored that rebuttal. Judges, earlier. Surya Prakash ma'am, I have your score. Supreet ma'am, I have your score as well. Thank you. Burrett sir, I have your scores as well. I will quickly tabulate that. But Harsha, you'll have to wait a little bit for your score because we are going to show all the 4 rebuttal scores at the end of the rebuttals. So Tanushree, you're up next.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you and I can hear you. If you're ready, we will start with your rebuttal now.
Right. So the first speaker comes and talks to us about how citizens, Sanidhi came and told us about how we believe that citizens have no responsibility. However, ladies and gentlemen, we do not say so. We say that citizens have responsibility only when the government starts acting responsible. As long as the government does not act responsibly, how does a citizen act responsible? How does a man who's sitting on the streets begging for food act responsibly towards the government as long as the government doesn't give him some sort of wage? Why do you think the government today gives 500 rupees to every farmer's bank account? Why? Because they want them to have the resources which is required. Ladies and gentlemen, they talk about how citizens have to follow the rules. How do they follow the rules unless they're not educated? That's where the country's responsibility comes, right to education, which is not just a novelty in India, but across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, they talk about how the responsibility of the country rises when citizens do not obey the laws. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not concerned as to when the responsibility of the country rises, but at least you agree to the fact that the responsibility of the country rises. Ladies and gentlemen, Sanidhi also comes and talks to us about chanting of the preambles and the talk of umbrellas in Hong Kong. Ladies and gentlemen, none of the chanting of the preamble, none of the umbrella movements which takes place in Hong Kong would take place as long as people are not educated enough. A poor man who stays in the roads who does not have good access to education would not be able to do any of these things. Ladies and gentlemen, let's not take an elitist view of what citizens are. Citizens are everyone as a whole who comply to the world, and let's not believe that citizens are only those people who can afford for themselves a cup of Starbucks coffee or have a car to drive them to the office. Thank you so much.
Well done, Tanushree. Another deep breath required. Let's see how the judges are scoring that. Sir, if you could please move Tanushree's score to the last column, on the fourth column. May I do that for you?
Oh, sorry. I think I'm sorry. I also did that.
All right. No, we should be the ones apologizing because we have made sure we have this extremely convoluted scoring system. It was just an effort to ensure that every match is scored at the same level.
Apologies, Sabayu.
No, sir, none required. Thank you so much. I think all the scores are in the right place. Yes, so we now have Tanushree's scores. Sanidhi, you're up next.
Could you
If
let
you're
me
ready,
know to begin?
Yeah. If you're ready to begin, we will start your time for 2 minutes now.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, side opposition has got it very wrong. Nowhere in the topic today was government mentioned. Ladies and gentlemen, it clearly stated country. And what is a country? Let me clarify it for my esteemed opposition. Country is a set of all citizens at large and not the government. And so, while it may hurt some of us and some of them, India is not synonymous with either BJP or Congress. Shockingly, but rather to both of them and their supporters and the others combined. That is to say that India is all of the Indian citizens, ladies and gentlemen. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen, all of Indian citizens, that is to say the country. May I unmute myself?
Sanidhi, yes, please unmute yourself. Really sorry about that.
Okay, shall I continue?
Yes, please continue. Really sorry about that.
So I was saying that a country can only be deemed responsible if the citizens at large act in a responsible way. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this debate was simply about recognizing a simple pattern of cause and effect. Because if the citizens individually are not responsible, then how can all of them at large be expected to be responsible? A simple response to my previous speaker, to Tanushree, is that if India is 49th on the poverty index or 35 on the education index as of 2019, it's not just the government's fault, but rather the private sector's fault as well. It is the responsibility of all the monopolies that are being headed by private individuals, private citizens of this nation. It is also the responsibility of private educational firms that are running so many schools but can't open their doors to the poor, ladies and gentlemen, because at the end of the day, this debate is not about whether we're right-wing or whether we're left-wing. It's about the fact that we must realize that we are responsible for what happens and take on that responsibility in a respectable manner. Thank you very much. Proud to propose.
Thank you so much, Sanidhi. Sorry about that slight mix-up. We were trying to keep our external noise out, ended up muting you. Judges, please put in Sanidhi's scores in the third column. And I can see the scores coming in. Yes, I have all three scores. Kevin, you're up next.
Yes, I'm ready.
So Kevin, if you're ready, we will start your time for 2 minutes now.
Okay, so one of my fellow opponents said that the country is a collective term for its citizens, but it's not. The government is a representation of our country. It's what the citizens who most responsibly choose to represent our country. So it is the duty of the government to act responsible on behalf of the citizens. Citizens can't do anything if the government are not acting responsible. So what is the role of the government? It has to act responsibly in order to show a good face in front of the citizens and in front of the whole world. And another point that my opponent said that it is up to the citizens to follow the rules and the laws set by the government. But who's going to monitor if the citizens are responding to the rules and laws set by the country? It is the government. So this proves my point again, that the government is the representation of our country. It's who we select to represent our country. Let's take the most recent pandemic, the COVID pandemic, for example. The citizens are acting responsible enough and staying at their homes and being safe. But what does the government do when they realize that their economy is falling down? It represents a new program called Unlock India. It doesn't care about what the health of the citizens are. When the COVID count in India was less than 2,000, everyone was staying quiet at home and the government was imposing a full lockdown in India. But now, when the COVID cases have touched 2 million, the government is imposing a system called Unlock India. Is this responsibility on behalf of the country? I don't think so. The citizens are being responsible. But because of the irresponsibility of the government, the citizens have to suffer that too. So this sums up my point, saying that the country's responsibility towards the citizens is far greater than the citizens' responsibility towards the government. Thank you.
Well done, Kevin. Let's see how the judges scored that rebuttal. Supreet ma'am, I have your score. Thank you. Surya Prakash ma'am, I have your score as well. Thank you. And Burrett sir, I have your score too. Thank you so much, all judges. Well, we have had 5 minutes of arguments from each of the speakers. We have had 2 minutes of rebuttal from each of them. Their scores are ready, but I'm going to keep them in suspense for a little while longer, because this is the time I get to tell you a little bit about Notebook. Notebook, as some of you may already know, is an EdTech brand. What we try to do is take your school curriculum, all the subjects, all the topics, and make short, crisp videos out of them. What happens is when the teacher takes your class, whether it's offline, like in a classroom, or online, like you're having now, the teachers get to start with the short video. You start with the video, play that video for 8 to 10 minutes. All the students now visualize the topic in the same way. And then what follows is a much more enriched discussion and deliberation around that topic. Now, 6 months down the line, the student has to write the exam. If you are a student like I was, you would have forgotten most of the stuff you would have learned in class, which means you would need a quick way to revise what you learned. And this is where this video comes in handy. One, you refer to the video and it reminds you of what was there in the chapter. And two, more importantly, because it was played in class, you start remembering what the teacher had told you on the same day when this video was played. What I will do now is play a short clip from one of the Notebook videos so that you know exactly what I'm talking about. Can we roll the video, please?
In a hut, right? Imagine that you are drawing a hut. In all probability, it looks something like this, doesn't it? Did you think of something slightly different, maybe like this? The two pictures seem so different, yet they are actually of the same object. The only difference between the two pictures is our point of view or perspective. The two pictures of the same object seem so different when viewed from different points. Confused? Let me help you with that. Here we see our object, that is the hut. Now, here comes a friendly photographer. Let's see what kind of photos he can take. Firstly, he takes a photo from the front of the hut. It looks something like this. Now, he takes out a special drone camera. Flying it high above, he clicks a photo from the top of the hut. What we saw are the same object. Didn't they look completely different? Let's see another example of this. As we can see here, the car has different appearances when seen from different sides. We can see the top, front, and side views of the car as the camera is moved around. So, the next time you see someone drawing an object differently from you, don't think that the person is incorrect. It could be just that they have a different outlook. Try drawing a bus from the side and from the top on a drawing sheet. You must have seen beautiful rangolis made during Diwali or other Indian festivals. These are all examples of top view. If you try to look at some rangoli from the side, it looks shapeless and uninteresting. Just a thin layer of paint or flowers on the floor.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was a short clip of one of the Notebook videos. We have here with us Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO of Notebook. Achin is a chartered accountant by training who went on to become a director at Deloitte and then quit his corporate career to start Notebook. Achin, if you could have a few words from you, because you've heard this wonderful debate, and we would also like you to share the vision behind the 0 Hour event.
Good evening, everyone. A great session, I must say. Harsha, Sanidhi, Tanushri, and Kevin. Very well done. I congratulate all of you for your commendable performance, confidence, passion, and logical, articulate deliberation. It's indeed praiseworthy. Public speaking has always been a coveted skill from times immemorial and will continue to remain so. Irrespective of any profession you choose, it is very important to be able to communicate your views so as to convince others to share your vision, so as to be able to inspire them to take your mission as their own. If you really want people to share your passion for any cause, you need to share your dreams so that they take it as their own. August 1963, Washington. March for Jobs and Freedom by Martin Luther King Jr. His famous speech, which said, "I have a dream." So what he shared with the crowd was his dream and not his plan. The members of the audience took it as their own personal dream, and rest is history. However, what is really important is to also develop great listening skills. Being flexible, open-minded, tolerant are really important. Also, it is important to continuously learn and, more importantly, unlearn so as not to carry any baggage. It gives me great optimism to see such talent and passion in our future leaders. One word of advice from my side for all of you in future is that it's not only important to seek truth, but also to stand up for the cause. Debate, discussion, and public discourse are essential elements in any vibrant democracy. However, the objective of public discourse should be to find out what is right and not who is right. At Notebook, we really aspire to engage with each one of you and work together towards a better tomorrow. With 10,000 videos and more than 1 million users, we are still at our infancy. I also thank all stakeholders who have contributed to this beautiful evening, both the learner adjudicators, principals of both the schools, and all your teachers and parents who have invested their time, hope, and effort on each one of you. You have indeed made all of them proud. Coming to 0 Hour, we have been hosting this Together for Education webinars since last 2.5-3 months. Between Together for Education webinar and 0 Hour, we have more than 28,000 people who have attended this during last 2.5-3 months. The objective behind 0 Hour was to ensure we wanted to connect centers of excellence around the world, students, teachers, schools, so as to ensure that during this hour of pandemic, when our school children are away from their schools, confined in their homes for months together, we wanted to ensure that we give them all the support and encouragement. And indeed, we are overwhelmed and humbled at the kind of response that we have got and the kind of talent that we have seen. Sessions like this, like the one that I saw today, really gives me confidence. Great show, I must say. Indeed, I thank all of you. Take care, stay safe, and goodbye. Over to you, Shubhayu.
Thank you so much, Achin. It's also our privilege to have partnered with Save the Children for this 0 Hour debate. Save the Children, as many of you may already know, is an NGO that's a little over 100 years old. For over a century, they have been working across the globe in helping children who are not as fortunate as we are. A lot of children face premature death. Some grow up in hostile environments, and the organization Save the Children works tirelessly to give these children a better childhood. Here's a short message from their CEO, Ms. Vidisha Pillai.
Save the Children was born in 1919. 100 years is not a milestone that many organizations or individuals can claim to have reached. And for us, it's been a tireless, relentless journey to ensure that every child has access to their rights, every child has a voice. But when we look back at 100 years, because 100 is also a time to reflect, we wonder what it would be like to live in a world where children don't need to be saved. Perhaps we could live in a world where Save the Children does not need to exist. And so as we look at the future, we envision a world which is much kinder to its children. A world in which children no longer need to be protected from violence, where children are not needlessly dying before they turn 5, where every child is going to school, is learning, is playing, and is on that path towards fulfilling their full potential. As we turn 100, we pledge to work towards that future of a much kinder and brighter world for children. Every day, every hour, every minute, we will continue on that path. But we also know we can't do it alone. We want to work closely with the communities, with our partners, with the government, and most importantly, with the children themselves. They are going to be the change makers of tomorrow. Children like Onoyara, like Rahul, like Salman, like Mamta, they are the ones who are breaking gender stereotypes. They are challenging social norms, and they are changing the world and the lives of themselves and also children around them. We pledge to continue working with them, alongside them, to ensure that every child gets the right start. I'm Bidisha Pillai, and I invite you to join Save the Children in our commitment to ensure that every child gets the right start.
Well, after those wonderful messages from Achin and from Save the Children, I'm sure if I don't show you your scores now, you guys are possibly going to take a flight to Kolkata just to bash me up. So here are your scores, all 4 speakers. We would love to have you back on camera. Harsha, after your 5 minutes of arguments and 2 minutes of rebuttal, you averaged 79, and this is out of 100. Tanushree, you averaged 92. Sanidhi is at 93. And Kevin, you averaged 88. Which means these are the school averages. For the GRD Public School Coimbatore, the school average is 83. The Mayo College Girls School, Ajmer, your school average is 93. But this is where it gets interesting because the gap is only 10 points. And the audience gets to pick their favorite speaker of the day. And the school with the audience choice best speaker gets 25 additional points. So the audience vote could very well swing this. Audience, this is where you get to play a role. You will see a poll coming up on your screen. The poll will have all the 4 debaters listed. You get to think well and choose your favorite speaker today. Remember, you can cast only 1 vote and you have 1 minute to cast your vote. So think well and cast your vote. You should be able to see the poll on your screen now. As I said, 1 minute to cast your votes. We are waiting for 144 votes to come in. The participants can see the votes as they're cast, and this is a close one. Halfway in, we already have, excuse me, we already have 120 plus votes in. We are still waiting for about 10 more votes. Ten seconds to go. And it's a minute. So these, ladies and gentlemen, on your screen are the final results of the audience poll. A very, very close fight between Kevin and Sanidhi, but Sanidhi inching it out at 38%. She is our audience's choice for the best speaker of the day. Congratulations, Sanidhi. A wonderful gesture there from Kevin, giving Sanidhi an applause. That's the spirit. Well, before we wrap up and show you the final tally for the day, I would request Burrett sir, if we could have you back, because I think we've witnessed a fantastic debate. While I quickly tabulate the scores, if you could leave the students with your parting words.
Thank you very much, Bayu. Another very close debate, very exciting. My four friends from Coimbatore, two of them from Coimbatore and two of them from this lovely city of Ajmer. Well done. I really enjoyed this debate. Harsha, you were very clear in your speech, very measured, and you will, in years to come, make a very good debater. Kevin, you are very talented and you drew this very dismal picture of Indian society and asked the really big question, you know, what are the government doing for us? And I must say from Mayo, Sinidhi being a school captain and from a politically connected family, which very clearly showed up, we need more people like you in politics. I can tell you that. You very clearly defined and explained the topic. And you also talked about how a citizen has to be responsible. You know, you brought in the idea of taxes. You know, I would have added the idea of, loyalty and sacrifice during war and difficult times, how to protect public property, how to save water during drought, how to drive safely, all these things that a citizen has to be careful of. And again, and lastly, Tanushree, you had so much to say in such a short time. You squeezed in so many facts. You also talked about how, without alleviating poverty and the basic necessities, how can we be good citizens? That's a very good point. And you were the only one who took a world view of the whole topic. You did not just talk about India. So on the whole, a thoroughly enjoyable evening for me. Well done to all you debaters. This is not good for my heart, this excitement, but well done. Thank you very much. Over to you, Shibayu.
Thank you so much, sir. I will still need just a couple of seconds, guys, before I can just make the formal announcement. While I do that, Kevin, was wonderful to watch you debate. As I said, we would love to have you back beatboxing. Care to give us a short performance?
Sure. So, for people who don't know what is beatboxing, it's basically making music with your mouth, basically beats with your mouth, and it goes something like. Thanks.
Amazing.
That was amazing, Kevin. Well,
fantastic, Kevin.
That is a rare talent. Do practice hard. I'm sure this is going to take you places as well. But well, this here is the final result. With 118 points, thanks to the 25 additional points for having the best speaker, Mayo girls finished with 118 points, and the GRD public school averaged 83. Very, very well done, guys. Nothing to lose heart over. I'm sure you'll go from strength to strength from here. So the winner of Match 32 in Pool D is Mayo College Girls School, Ajmer. This has been the last match of the pool stage. So this is also where we tell you who are the teams who qualified for the quarterfinals, which begin tomorrow. So on the basis of the points purely, these are the teams in each pool. From the left to your right of the screen, these are pool A, B, C, and D. Indian School Al-Gubra topping pool A, followed by Ramana Vidyalaya. New Al-Wurud International School Jeddah, followed by the PSBB Millennium School OMR Chennai in pool B. Podar International School Powai leading pool C, followed by Ramjas School and the Indian School New Delhi, who were tied for the second place. In pool D, I'm sorry, that is incomplete. We have a tie for the first place now, and which is why it's incomplete. The Epistemo Vikas Leadership School Hyderabad and the Mayo College Girls School are both at 118, which means there's a tie for the top spot. The third name on that list should be Sri Shikshayatan School, Kolkata, who was in second spot until this debate happened. And this is where it gets interesting. During the course of this debate, there have been cases where students have spoken exceptionally well, However, because of time zone differences, because of it being a holiday in that country, or because of various other reasons, the audience poll has gone the other way. The judges came back to us and felt that these were certain students who felt to be the wildcard entries in the quarterfinals. And so this, ladies and gentlemen, are how the 4 quarterfinals will look. Qualifying from Pool A, we have Indian School Al Gubra Muscat, Ramana Vidyalaya, and Delhi Private School Dubai. From Pool B, we have New Al Wurud International School Jeddah, the PSBB Millennium, the PSBB Millennium School OMR Chennai, and the Indian Language School Lagos. From Pool C, it's Podar International School Powai, Ramjas School Delhi, and the Indian School New Delhi. From Pool D, it's Episteme Vikas Leadership School, Mayo College Girls School, and Sri Shikshayatan School. These are the 12 teams that qualify, which means for every quarterfinal, there are going to be 3 teams. 3 speakers speaking for the motion and 3 speakers speaking against the motion. The rules have changed a little bit, and we will tell you the rules as and when we start them. As you know, we start our quarterfinals tomorrow. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. India time is the first of the quarterfinals, and we hope to see all of you there. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure playing host to all of you. We hope to see you then for our next debate. Until then, take care and goodbye.